Shean Williams and my father.
Good morning. Blessings.
We are really happy to have you all with us again here today. Let's get through the formalities very quickly. Please like, subscribe, and share. You will see the links here, and here. Follow my dad on his socials at Bishop L.A. Williams.
That's right.
Always kid. And mine is at Shean Williams World. Also, don't forget to follow at Yo Pops Poddy. Oh, sorry, I was just getting attacked by a little insect there. And we can't wait to obviously interact with you. We have some wonderful things coming up. So we kind of want to keep you inundated. And if you are on the socials, then you'll be able to kind of get that information firsthand. Dad, how are you today?
I am fine.
Are you?
I am indeed.
Did you rest well last night?
I rested well.
Yes. You're looking you are looking quite rested this morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I got up quite early actually this morning.
Okay.
Got into the gym, felt good.
Is it because you went to sleep very early?
Not massively early.
Okay.
Not massively early, but I slept within a good enough amount of time to feel like I'm in today.
Oh.
But I woke up with a lot of motivation today.
Did you?
Yeah, just kind of what I'd say, that felt a little bit, what's the word? Insincere.
What is?
What you just said, the did you?
Oh.
It didn't feel very kind of warm or welcoming. It felt a bit suspicious.
No, it doesn't. It's
Of course it did.
simply saying that you
Nah,
you
when
felt
you
motivated.
watch this back, you'll hear it and you'll be like, oh, I see what he meant.
Yeah, so I'm thinking motivated, sleeping and be motivated. Fascinating stuff.
Why?
Because most people get motivated during the day when things are happening. You get motivated at night when you're sleeping.
Let me put this to you. In a creative's mindset, when do they create most?
When they are awake.
Well, no, the quiet hours. The quiet hours.
Yeah, when they are awake.
Dad, if you are taking in, even though I know you're being facetious, but you are. Of course you are. But it's okay.
Yes.
I'm going to leave you to do that by yourself.
Okay. Okay.
I want to speak to you today on a very sensitive topic.
Okay.
Something that we all will go through in different formats and seasons of our life.
That's a sensitive topic.
This sensitive topic.
Okay.
Grief.
Okay. Right.
So now it landed, right?
Yes.
And you can see that I'm not trying to lead you down an hour joke. I'm trying to be quite serious. It is something that affects people in lots of different ways. And people lean into many different ways of managing it.
Right.
Some positive, some negative. But everybody finds a different way, I think, to tackle it. It's quite scary.
Yeah.
So I wanted to open up the discussion today on grief. And I have some questions that I think are quite pertinent.
Right.
Because obviously everybody is individual, which means that their experience with something will draw different questions. So I tried to kind of, during my research, not to generalize it, but to lean into the questions that I feel most people ask in these kinds of moments. And obviously with your work in ministry and dealing with people and having officiated hundreds of funerals, and you're often a person that those that are transitioning into eternity like to speak to before they leave this finite world. I thought you'd be a fantastic soundboard because I think you'll be able to understand the emotionality of it. You obviously have spiritual understanding concerning it, and because of your job as a minister of the gospel, you have incredible amounts of empathy, which allows you to know how to deliver bad news to good people.
Right.
And also to teach people in moments of something that is quite scary. And I think when something scares you, you're more concerned with surviving than learning.
Right.
Right? So it's quite a deep topic.
Yeah.
But we're gonna obviously, through our conversation, have moments. So, Dad, the first question that I think a lot of people ask when they're grieving is, why is this happening?
Okay. Why is it happening? I think first and foremost, one has to consider what is grief.
Okay.
Now, grief is a deep sense of loss. And in most cases, loss of someone who you love, in the case of death, or you lost a relationship, or something that is very pertinent to you.
Yeah.
And so that then bring one into this state of grief. I always like to consider it a bit like being at the beach. Yeah. Where if you can't swim, then you tend to stay at the shallow end, which is just, really...
Foot, ankle
That's right.
deep water.
Indeed. But if you can swim very well,
Yeah.
then you're not afraid to go out into the deep blue. And I see it a bit like that. So when we look at grief, I think the question is,
Why is this happening?
why is it happening?
You couldn't remember the question.
Of course,
You should be ashamed of
I'm just-
yourself. I'm joking. Yeah.
as I said, having explained what it is, it's been that.
It evaded you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's all
yes,
good.
for a moment, of course. And then, so this, why is it happening? Because as I just said, because it's a great sense of loss, a personal feeling, that great sense of loss. And as a result, they get into this state which affects them both emotionally, psychologically, and in some cases mentally.
Yes.
Yeah, it affects
definitely.
people. But you remember I gave the example of the shallow and the deep. Yeah, fear oftentimes stops a lot of people from going into the deep because they feel they want to be in control of what is happening to them.
Yeah.
Even though in most cases people don't know that, it's perhaps a lot easier to swim in the deep than it is in the shallow. Yeah. So when a person find themselves in this state of grief, there are a number of factors that is missing from the equation. And one of those is that it doesn't happen by itself. Grief doesn't happen by itself, you see. And this is where I think a lot of people miss it.
This is a major key that you're about to lead us into. Because when you first said that, my brain just went, huh?
Yeah.
And then my brain went, whoa, wait. Because you're right. Grief, in terms of an agricultural sense, it is the leaf or the fruit. So no tree produces first with fruit though.
That is it. So it has to be cultivated.
Wow. I've never, ever looked at it that way. Of course it does.
Yeah. You see. And it largely depends on how you feel the person, or the relationship impacts you as to how deep you allow yourself to, you cultivate
The grief.
the grief. You see what I mean?
This is good. I didn't expect you to start firing so early. No, I'm being serious, because I know you came in this morning a little bit jovial and a bit playful, and I was just like, oh, great, okay, cool, you're in.
Yeah. So,
Right, Dad.
So it is the silence no-go area in dealing with grief for a lot of people.
It's the silent no-go
No-go area.
What is?
Talking or getting to the real cause of grief.
Got you. Because most people are so scared of how sensitive the person is, you don't want to ask the wrong question,
Precisely.
which then generally leads you into not asking any question of real relevance.
Indeed. And as you had pointed out at the beginning of your introduction, that I having to deal with different people at different level,
Yeah.
and I had to quickly ascertain where people are at, both emotionally, intellectually, and psychologically. I have to quickly determine.
So break that down. When you are calculating where a person's at, and just to paraphrase, when you're talking about where a person's at, you're talking about their maturity in the development, either emotionally, psychologically, or spiritually.
Yeah, to deal with what you're about to say to them.
Right.
Let me give an example. I know this young man who lost his mother, and he clearly, from the emotional side, very upset, and to the point of what I would say, grieving. The grieving process is about to set in.
Okay. So he hasn't even started.
It hasn't. He just is upset, because that's where it started first from. You're upset that this person who you love, or this thing that you love, or this, a relationship that you adore, is gone.
Yeah.
So it first begins with upset. That's how it begins. You're upset about it. Okay, then it transforms itself into now grief, because it has time for the seed to germinate. If you look at it from the agricultural point of view,
Yeah.
it has time for it to germinate. And it is when it begins to grow, then grief, it resembles.
Yeah.
Grief is like that. So I realized that it is what you're feeding yourself, feeding your emotion, feeding your mind, that will either deepen the grief or lessen the grief.
This is good, Dad. This is very good. No, because it's such a mirage of a powerful force.
Yeah.
That no one would ever sit and think that they are the life force.
Precisely the point.
To this thing, Dad, that they're looking at, them, it's like, and most of us want to run the other direction,
Yeah,
from it, right? Because it's almost like a tsunami.
Yeah, but they're running with it. So, that is the thing of it. I love when he gets it. I love his reaction is amazing. You couldn't pay for it. Okay. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay.
Hey, stop.
Good.
I'm not people that
I
text
got
me about
witness
like,
here. Exactly, good.
listen, I do it in front of the world. I'm joking, man.
Okay.
So
So as you begin to observe how much they are now feeding this thing,
yeah.
the question that I had to ask this young man, what is it that you miss about your mother? Because she had been living a long time, and your time of interaction with her has been very limited, to the point where you perhaps see her once or twice per year, if you really, she's really blessed. And the latter part of her life, she has been going through incredible suffering. Yeah. But that did not make much difference to your lifestyle and your relationship with her, because of your own personal responsibility, your job, your home, etc., etc. So I said, now that she has been relieved from the suffering and the indignity and the pain and all of the stuff that she was going through, what exactly is it that you miss? And suddenly, I could see that he stopped in his track. In other words, whatever he was telling
Himself, yeah, the commentary stopped.
Absolutely, straight away. So I said, by virtue of our belief, because of course, grief affects people in many ways, impacted by virtual cultural influences, spiritual influences, and other things like that. I said, by virtue of our culture, of our belief, I said, we know that when a person like her leave, she's gone to a better place. So would you now want her to leave that better place and to come back to what she has left from?
Yeah.
I said, is that what you want? He said, no, that's not what I want. So I said, okay. So really and truly, it's not really her that is impacting you. It's really you impacting you.
Because you're using projection over perception.
Absolutely.
And you're allowing your emotional mind to magnify something that is, it's meant to happen.
Yeah, indeed. So you're now telling yourself you're going to miss her. You're now telling yourself you don't have a mother. You're now telling yourself that you don't have anybody to run to, even though reality is a far cry from really what
Is happening.
You're thinking. So really and truly, it's not her that's causing the grief.
You are.
It's you. Because you're feeding the narrative, you're feeding the negative aspect of the situation, which is all about you. Because she's not feeling any more pain. In fact, as much as she loves you, she's not missing you because, as I says, her time here is done. And she's out of here, so to speak, out of all the problems, the issues, and all of that. So it's really you. So the moment that you understand that, number one, she's in a better place, number one, things are better for her, number one, everything good is happening to her now, you need to stop feeding yourself with that negative.
How do you take away the bowl and spoon of negative self-commentary, Dad, in those moments?
Is to look at the positive side of the situation. Like in the case of the mother, I said, she's no more suffering pain. You have to be happy for that. No more suffering the indignity of being sick and all the stuff that goes with that. Surely you got to be happy for that. And I begin to outline all the things. So he then begin to re-rationalizing.
Yeah. He's providing balance
Absolutely.
to a situation that has none.
Yeah.
Because of how he's been thinking and how he's been allowing his thinking to process
Yeah.
through his emotional power.
Precisely. And so the quicker you can look at the positivity of the situation, because if one is going to be brutally honest, you've got an old person sitting there, they've lost all interest.
An older person.
Oh, I'm sorry, older person, yes. Sitting there. And he loves that. He enjoys.
Only because you said that to me yesterday. I was on the phone with my dad yesterday and he goes, I'm an old man. I said, no, you're an older man. And he didn't like it.
You said it.
Because I kicked the walking stick away. The invisible one that you want to be, certain days he wants to be an old man and certain days he wants to be a young man. I'm like, pick. Can't be both.
So in the face of that, then the person, when you begin to look at all the positives, you begin to remove the negative.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And you're looking at, as I was saying earlier on that, you look at the older person, and they begin to lose interest in life around them. If they have a beautiful car, they begin to lose interest in it. They've got money in the bank, they begin to lose interest in it. They got a lovely home, they begin to lose interest in it. And the list goes on. And then physically, a lot of them become impaired. And so they want to get out of that world.
Yeah.
And finally they do. The person now who is grieving, what exactly are they telling themselves, except it's about themselves?
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise you wouldn't lean into the alternative negative, and to dive so deeply into it, because
Absolutely.
the person that you're missing would never wish for you to do that.
No.
In fact, they'd implore you not to go anywhere near
Not
that pool.
anywhere near the kind of stuff.
It's a self-generated
Yes,
thing.
it is. It is self-affliction.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like peeing in your own bathwater and then talking about how tangy it is. Dad, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I
Dad,
know.
I'm so sorry.
I think I need to put it through some therapy yourself. I mean, what possessed you to say something like that?
I know, but it was the most visual.
Please, everybody, forgive him.
Forgive me.
Yes.
But that isn't it, right? Because in when you think of it, that example is disgusting.
Very disgusting.
You have to be some kind of different
I have to
person.
understand it for a little
Right?
bit. Yeah, disgusting.
But like in the opposite,
Yeah.
it's because I wanted to pick something that was so far removed
Yeah,
from what we would do.
it dawns on you really what is going on in the minds of people.
Yes.
That's really what it is. And because people have lent into this kind of stuff, immediately, they don't go far apart from, as I said, at the shallow end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because it suits some, it appeals to others, it justifies others. There are a lot of stuff that help bring people into this state.
Dad, this leads me quite neatly on to my next question. I think there are some elements that you've already answered in the previous question. Does that then necessitate why people feel that they feel stuck in grief, or is that overarching feeling of not feeling like you can move on past?
Yeah, they're paralyzed. You see what I mean? And it is, again, self-paralysis. Because you're now telling yourself that because of, rather than in spite of, you can't go on. And the person know that everyone, so to speak, is going to be sympathetic and empathetic to them.
So do you feel that some people lean into the currency of sympathy and they go deep into the overdraft, like they get facilities?
Oh, goodness me. Because, it can lead to other things that they would feel beneficial. I mean, there are people who allow themselves to be so deep into it that, as I said, they breathe about a certain level of paralysis mentally, emotionally, and physically, which then, of course, lead on to the fact that if you are not, let's take, for instance, in your work, if you are not able to work because you're suffering some kind of a mental or emotional trauma, then that is a reason for you to be put off work, as well as for the government to facilitate. And as much as doctors are wonderful people, psychologists are great people, who's going to tell you when that ought to stop?
You can't. You can't, can you?
Yeah.
Dad, what is something that I hear very often in the process of grief or grieving, is the question, will I ever feel normal again? First thing I wanted to ask is, firstly, what is normal?
Yeah.
And then, two, what is it in terms of either action or a series of processes that brings a person, and this is me kind of trying to perceive what they say when they say normal. I always look at it as a person going, will I ever feel back in balance again? Will I ever feel equal or even again? Where does that come from, and how?
Well, it again come from the narratives that people are constantly telling themselves.
Yeah.
So the moment, as long as they continue it, then they're going to feel imbalance.
Okay.
You see, the sooner you stop feeding that,
Yeah.
is the quicker you're going to get back to reality. And to whatever person would consider to be. What were they doing before the grief, whatever causes the grief, happen? See, so that is the question.
Dad, very quickly, do you often think that, and just as you were talking, it hit me, this kind of little thought or concept. I often think that a lot of the time people's grief is guilt in fancy dress.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I find it very, okay. We lost my uncle very tragically. That I found it hard to feel as low as what I was seeing. Now let me give that context. I didn't potentially share what I call overly vulnerable moments with my uncle, where I would see him emotionally broken or in such ways. I saw seasons in his life where he was going through, and it wasn't great, but there was never moments where I didn't feel like I could either relate to him or speak into him. So for me, the last time that I saw him was on the steps at church. And it was an amazing conversation. Wallace had just come home and he was with his partner, and we just exchanged very quickly. And Dad, that was the last time I saw him.
Right.
And even when I found out about his passing, I found it very hard to descend to the depths of grief that those around me were. And now,
expectation.
How do you mean?
Because people would expect you to sink. Because,
Right.
to different level of grief, depending on the relationship that you have. You see. Now, as I said, sorry, the speed and the depth which you go in grief depends on how heavy you put the weight on. You see. And that is what you were not doing. You see. Now, one of the amazing things about the funeral service, which is normally the pinnacle of most people's grief, when this funerals, when you knowing that, okay, from now on I'm not going to see the remains of the person, and everyone combined their grief, and it triggers other emotions in people. So you have that. But in this case, it didn't happen. If you remember, because they were playing all the positive side of his life, his music, his dancing, the messages that was coming through the music, it stemmed people sinking to that incredible.
Well, it cut the weights.
It did. You see, it did.
Dad, the other thing I wanted to lean into when I was talking about even just my own experience with it, was when I was talking about the guilt thing. When I could, I did.
Absolutely.
And when I couldn't, I explained to him why I could not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So there was never that. I didn't. When I've heard of his passing, the loss felt less because what I was supposed to in the time I was given, I was able to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Of course. And you were reminding yourself that you had fulfilled expectation,
Yeah.
your own expectation.
Yeah.
Now, if you were not able to do that,
It might be
then you're going to be flipping that coin,
Yeah.
and it's going to be more and more negative. And there's so many aspects of things that you can lean into that can bring you down. You see what I mean? And that is why, when you look at someone who's grieving, any person listening to this would say, you know what? It is true because it's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
Because the person can't speak to you. Then, instead, the situation can't speak to you because it's not there anymore. So you may feeling a sense of guilt because you're telling yourself that there were moments you could have done things differently. There are issues you could have dealt with differently, and the list goes on. But it's you feeding that to you.
Yeah.
And naturally, you're going to react to it.
Dad, probably the most pertinent question these next two questions are probably the most pertinent questions that a lot of people would want to know. Firstly, how long does it last?
How long? Again, it lasts as long as you
I knew you were going to say that.
miss.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to sit there and go, it lasts as long as you allow it to last.
Yeah, because until you stop, feeding.
This is deep.
Is
Do you know how deep what you're saying? And the reason why it's brilliant medicine, Dad, is because grief isn't something it's not something to be scared of.
No.
It is a part of the kaleidoscope and the conglomerate of who we are, why we are. And it's like that. Sometimes it feels like there are things that we run away from because we've lent ourselves into what I call the candy floss diet. If it's not sweet and doesn't feel good, then we don't want it.
Right. Now imagine, for example, if a person was to go through some kind of therapy before the grief happened, the situation that causes grief to happen, and they are told this is going to happen, this person is going to die, this relationship is going to break up, what it is, and therefore, how are you going to deal with it? What are you going to tell yourself? You see me? Now that grief can either start there, because you go, oh my God, I'm gonna miss this, I'm gonna this, or they're gonna wait until it really happens.
It's almost like a person that runs a marathon. You've got the person that trains 6 months before, and the person the weekend before goes, yeah, I'm gonna go run the marathon next week, and I'm gonna go out on Wednesday and do an half-an-hour run, and then they get there, Dad, and they're like, 2 minutes in, hamstrings gone, pulled my abs, I'm dizzy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is where.
So grief needs preparation.
And of course, I mean.
As much as you can.
And that is where, when you're prepared and you're not telling yourself the wrong thing, then grief is not something that is, is going to bring paralysis, but rather it falls into its proper perspective. In other words, you're going to miss somebody. You're going to miss something that you had that was good. You know that, okay, what you felt was important, you enjoyed while it lasted. But like everything else, it goes through transitions, you see. So there's nothing wrong with having emotional bout where you miss somebody, because you used to talk together, you used to relate in different ways together, and there's nothing wrong with feeling that sense of loss. You get what I mean? Now, that is the shallow end of the beach, as it were. But when you're not going to take it further and begin to pump into you things that really either was not true, because so many times people have the chance to have spent quality time with somebody and they don't.
That's the
And you see, they have the chance to do so many good things to somebody and they don't. And oftentimes, it's a mixture of guilt,
Yeah.
yes, I mean, and anger and the frustration that with themselves. And even that is with themselves.
Yeah.
I didn't do when I should. I didn't go when I ought to. I've not reacted when I should. So that's what you have. So when you come to that realization,
Yeah.
and you accept that psychologically in your mind, that now it's not trying to recapture something that you're not going to be able to, but it's to project your vision forward to other things and other people that are important and not making the same mistake again.
That's deep, Dad. Now, this next question is going to be slightly, it's going to be slightly contentious for some, because it's going to challenge a lot of the narrative that they tell themselves. It's also going to challenge what they truly understand about the reality of who they really are outside of their visual self. And it is going to put the responsibility upon them to understand the version of life they're living. A question that a lot of people, I think, want to know, Dad, because it's obviously, I was at a funeral last week, and I watched as those grieving and mourning went to have one last look at the person, and the anguish, because that was the last time that they were going to be able to visually see the person, and so on and so forth, which then leads into a lot of people's like, okay, where do they go? Where have they gone?
Okay, right. Within our culture, like many other cultures, it is a thread that runs through most nations' culture, that when you leave from here, you've gone to somewhere better.
Right.
For us, we see it as heaven. We see it as the place where God is. And the fact that we believe that He made us, it is natural that what we have within us that cannot decay, cannot perish, goes back to Him who gave it in the first place. And that is our spirit. Mm-hmm. So when that spirit leaves the body, because in reality, what's left there is just commonly called the remains.
It's the shell.
The shell, that is it. Everything is still there. The brain is still there. The lungs is still there. The heart is still there. The kidneys, everything is still there.
But the animator.
But the power that animates then is what we call the spirit. It's gone back to the maker, the giver of that spirit. And so where he goes, we believe, it is back to Him, back to a place of comfort, a place of paradise, a place that is wonderful. So therefore, knowing that, that is why one look at what some people go through as grief, as conflicting. Because if this person has escaped all of the downside to their physical world, to a better place with a view to an even better situation happening later, like eternity and immortality, etc., then why would you be distraught on that kind of level? So it's clearly not for the person that you're distraught for. Yes, I mean, because who would want to take you away from honey? Who would want to take you away from the milk? Who would want to take you from all the good things that is now going to happen? And furthermore, your freedom from being bound to this natural world. It's all glorious. And there is a quote in the Bible that said, to live is Christ and to die is gain. So therefore, the people that are going through this, what is considered to be motion and motion control, is because there is no real balance in their thinking. Is what I mean? Because they're just thinking about them. And you don't want to use a strong word like selfish. But
that's pretty close to hitting the bullseye.
Exactly.
Honestly, Dad.
Because that's what it really is.
And for those people that are in either in moments of grief or they're around people grieving, Dad, if you're of sober mind, it is one of the most fascinating times to watch people.
Of course, it is.
Dad, it is. I have learned more about people through grief
Indeed.
than I have in the motion of when their life is lovely, and because you get to see the reality of it.
Of course. And the mistakes that people are feeling guilty over.
Yeah.
You have somebody who for half the year or the whole year you don't see them. And then now that they have this disease, you're now crying your eyes out over them. They can't hear you.
Yeah.
And that is where, you have to bring people back to that reality.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of people have never been given the chance to be brought back to the reality of their situation and said, okay, put it in perspective, right? Yes, cry if you want to. Because it's expected that you want to show your emotion.
Yeah.
And, and all of that. And as I often remind you of this lady who wanted to be buried with her husband. Yes, there's this story.
Good grief.
This lady, she went to the funeral of her husband, and she was really crying and want to be buried, want to get into the thing. So now the pastor, who normally is in cases like this, very sympathetic, told the people that's holding her back to let her go.
Go on.
So she can go and join us. Of course, the shock
Of
the pastor doing that. She's never, she's clearly now, everybody got to obey the pastor. Let her go. And here she has a clear path to the thing.
She didn't want to walk it no more. Imagine you start holding yourself back. No!
Somebody hold me back, please. So, so therefore, then you ask yourself, what was that all about? Because the reality is that you don't want to go and join them. But it looks good on the part of those around you.
To the mourners.
You say too much to say that you're in a deep sense of grief. But the grief didn't last when you needed to come to your side.
It wasn't.
Then you also have those who 1 minute will be crying, doing all sorts, and the next minute they're in the club saying that they are drinking one to the person that are
Never understood them ones, Dad.
So celebrating their life, dancing, laughing. So
Question. How do you manage the time, and can you redeem the time?
Right. When you say manage the time, in what sense?
So if you have time left, is there a way to manage that time with that person and to get things not in order, but to interact and have moments that will build memories?
Yes.
And if it's past, can you redeem the time that will obviously give you peace in your own heart and mind?
Yeah. I think one of the key things is to recognize that there are some things you can't retrieve. And but if you are in a position where you can fix
Yeah.
future relationship in any sense of the word, then it's for you to do so and do not engage in procrastination. You see, because that's what impacts a lot of people in the process of grief is procrastination. What they should have done, they take for granted that they have time to do it and tomorrow is always going to be coming. So therefore, no, is what you do now, is what you create now, is what you engage in now, is how you value the now rather than constantly telling yourself, I'm going to wait until everything is in perfect order before I engage in certain things. Then that's when things happen and people begin to feel the impact of that guilt, that they had not utilized time and resources and opportunities as they should.
Procrastination is the poison of
Indeed.
productivity, Dad. Dad, I can't thank you enough for this conversation. Honestly, just brilliant. I hope that today's conversation has been enlightening, comforting, and grounding. Grieving and grief is something that we all go through, but you don't have to go through it alone. It won't last forever, and you have power to decide when that tap goes on and when it goes off. Thank you for making the time to hang out with us. If you like what we do and you want to support what we're doing, please feel free to subscribe and donate. PayPal.me/YoPopsPoddy. The link will be there, you can see it. We also have our Patreon links. Feel free to go to that. Also on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, you can stream it, the audio version, and you can also see the visual version on YouTube, along with our social media clips on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook @YoPopsPoddy. My dad's personal URL @Bishop L.A. Williams and mine @Shean Williams World. We can't thank you enough for coming on this journey with us. And until next time, guys, from me, goodbye. From my dad,
Stay blessed.
stay blessed. That was the best one you've done so far. Grief is a natural part and process of life and a path and a journey that we all must walk. None of us are the exception to the rule of grief, and it's something that we all must pass through. However, I think the thing that goes undetected a lot of the time is the power that we hold within the process. The power of your decision to either invest or to withdraw from something. Sometimes it is the overwhelming feeling of sorrow and loss that shapes and influences the season or how we see it in the moment that we're experiencing. But as we heard in our conversation today, there are things that we can plant in the ground of our soil that will help us to grow fruits, to help us overcome these moments. It's in the memories. It's through the practical application of the experiences that you experience with that person that provides the petrol for living. And within that, we have the 3 pillars: community, connection, creation. Your ability to be around people that love, care, and support you and are willing to hold you up in a moment where you don't have the energy or the strength to do it yourself. Connection on the basis that we were not made or built to live alone. It is within the community of being together and the support and loving of one another that provides a connection within that allows us to have a firm foundation upon which to stand. And it is within creation. The 4 seasons that we go through each year: the birth of spring, the bloom of summer, the preparing of sleep of autumn, and the descent of death in winter. Not because it's the end, but because it's the beginning. That in that moment where everything sleeps and dies, if we live through the long night, in the morning, it'll all be new. Grief is something we all have to go through, but it's not something you have to stay in. You have more power than you think. Connect to what you know to be true and allow yourself to not become paralyzed by something that was meant to pass, but allow the hope of tomorrow to be born in you anew. Take care of yourselves and each other.